I know I'm supposed to be producing a video for tonight, and I am. I'm on my way. I got all the stuff from this week. It's a jam-packed video. It's got a lot of stuff. Fortunately, there's only 2 general aviation fatals this week, so I've got a little bit of extra space for some other stuff. I know you're here for the entertainment and the drama. I'm going to ship some of you guys some drama mine because you like the drama. But I'm gonna head back and start working on that here and see if I can get that jam together, built, edited, rendered, and uploaded by 9:30 p.m. tonight Eastern time. But I want you to know I got a couple things. I'm going to tell you a quick story while I'm on the way home here, and I'm in my Honda, and I'm going to pull over and show you this Honda. This is a 1996 Honda. It doesn't have a DMMS, but it has a DCMT. That's a defined max water temperature. The Honda engines and all these little tiny 4 and 6 cylinder engines mostly run on water coolant, this one included, and the main thing on keeping these engines going is water temperature. Its oil changes are important, things like that too. This particular Honda, I bought it brand new in 1996. Both kids came home from the hospital in this Honda. Both kids learned to drive in this Honda. Both kids had their first date in this Honda. So it's got sentimental value. Guess how many miles are on this particular Honda? I'll show you here in a second when I pull over, because I got a second GoPro running here, and I'll show you where we are right here. But I'm going to pull over in just a second and show you. This particular Honda has 442,000 miles on it. Yes, I'm getting to tonight's video. We got a little bit of extra space, so it's all good. And the story I've got to tell you is crazy good. It has to do with unconventional. Unconventional, and I am a little bit unconventional because this is my car. This has been paid for many years. We bought this car brand new off the showroom lot, and I take care of this car. It stays in the garage, and I do the maintenance on this car. And this car is going to go 1,000,000 miles if I end up going 1,000,000 miles, yet to be seen. So let's take a look real quick at the dash here. Here it is while we're driving, and you can see, now yes, I've got a red airbag light on. That's by design. I don't really like airbags in the first place, but the airbag is designed to not come on because I would rather simply not bump into anything. So let me tell you this other story. This is a crazy good story. I'm going to find a place to pull over here in about 30 seconds here. This is the odometer, and I want to show you specifically right here. If you can see right here, I've got my defined max water temperature marked, and that's so that I can tell if this water temperature is going high for any particular reason. So let me find a cool place to pull over here for just a second. I'm going to use somebody's driveway here and pull over in the shade, and all that's good. And we'll stop right here for just a second. So there we go. Unconventional. I am a little bit unconventional. Unconventional strategy. I want to tell you an unconventional strategy story. This has to do with Drew's sophomore year in high school. He was on the football team as a sophomore. One of his best friends was the kicker for the football team. His friend was a very, very, very good kicker, mostly a field goal kicker, and they had been together since kindergarten. It ended up in this game, a local rivalry match between 2 rival schools. I showed up at the game. This was an away game. I showed up at the game. Drew suited up as a varsity player. He did not play. Actually, technically, frankly, Drew was not that great of a football player, but he did get to suit up for that varsity game, and he was on the sidelines when this whole thing went down. What happened was that we ended up a little bit ahead of this other team, and in the fourth quarter, they had an offense that was virtually unstoppable. They had a guy on their offense that could catch passes, and he was like 6'4". The problem with that is that the big guy was catching passes, and even though it had been a close game, at the very, very end, this team marched down the field with very little time remaining, and they put themselves first and goal with 28 seconds remaining. I'll never forget this game. First and goal, 28 seconds remaining, and we are ahead by 4. Now, you would think conventional wisdom would say, stop them at the goal line and we win this game. Now it comes down to an actual fight on the sidelines between the head coach and the defensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator says, stop them at all costs, no matter what. Our defense will stop them. They will not get in. We will win this game. Coach said, no. Here's what we're going to do. And he called the play. The play was, when they snapped the ball, let them in. Let them walk in. And they did. They snapped the ball. There was almost a fight between the defensive coordinator and the head coach on this game. They snapped the ball. They let them walk in. The defensive coordinator said, you've got to trust our defense. We will stop them. We will stop them. And we're ahead by 4. Coach said, no, we've got 28 seconds on the clock. Let them in. That's going to give us possession. We will do a punt return. We'll do a kickoff return, and we will put ourselves in position, and we will get a field goal to tie the game. Now, it comes down to the very end of this thing. We let them in. They do a kick. We do a kickoff return. We put ourselves in excellent field position. We threw a couple screen passes to the side and stopped the clock. At the very, very end, it comes down to 4th down, 4 seconds on the board. We're on the 37-yard line, and we call in our kicker, Drew's best friend. 37. Now, if you do the math, 37 plus 10 to the goal makes it 47, plus an extra 7 yards for the snap. Let's put this out about 52 yards plus the height of the goalpost. It's got to go through. And the entire stands is screaming. This whole thing, the strategy, the unconventional wisdom to put ourselves in this position. If we had not stopped them, they would have won. At least we were in a position where if we could get this field goal, we'll at least be back to a completely tied ball game. Now it's down to the very, very last play. 4 seconds on the clock, and Ryan's out there. The entire stands is on their feet. I'll never forget it. The snap is up. It's a perfect snap. It goes right to the receiver. He holds the ball, and Ryan lets loose with all of his body. He puts his body into this. This was a stretch for Ryan, but they knew he could do it. The ball is up and away. It is beautiful with an arch. Plenty of energy on Ryan's kick. 52 yards for this thing. Did it go in? Did it go through the uprights? I'm going to tell you that story on a later date. In fact, we're probably going to interview Ryan at a later time. The unconventional wisdom to allow that team to give them what they want so we could put ourselves in a position where we had to be thinking outside the box. That's conventional wisdom. I'll talk a little bit more about this unconventional thinking at the end of this video. But for now, it's time to get to tonight's video. If you can hear me count, here it comes. Here comes the bluegrass. 1, 2, ready, go. Dan Grider, September 10, 2023. Glad to have you with us in the live chat room. This should premiere as a live premiere, so the chat room's open. Glad to have you with us. Make sure you type in there where you're typing from and what you're eating tonight and what you're using to clean up your crumbs. It's always very interesting. You keyboard warriors, you guys are so awesome. I do appreciate each and every one of you. The YouTube channel thing has been my part-time thing. I've done this Sunday night thing for a little over a year now, and it has gone bigger than I ever imagined it would. I'm a part-time guy. I only do this. Basically what I do is I gather all my information and collect all my stuff all week long. And then Sundays, it always comes down to crunch time in the afternoon. I got to shoot this video, edit it, render it, upload it, and do all the final touches on it to get it up and on the air by 9:30 p.m. Eastern time each Sunday night. So it's a lot. I'm a one-man show. All I got is this microphone and a computer and this little camera setup that I got here. But tonight's no exception. It's a jam-packed night. Glad to have you with us. Make sure you say hi. I'm going to try to keep up in the chat room tonight and do a little bit better. I got Dylan in here and some of the other regulars going to help jump in here with me. Very glad to have you, and thank you for your support. I produced that video last week, the DTSB, the super fun DTSB thing. Fascinating concept. We raised $9,000 in just a couple days. I got a tremendous amount of email and support off of that, and I want to say thank you very much. Here's a screenshot of some of the top contributors. Gave me a little bit of indication that maybe it's not so important to have this a 501c3 charitable because most people are giving less than $100 anyway. There's just a lot of them. Going to that super fund, the super fund is designed to be able to work on some of the bigger projects that I got to get done, the Part 16 stuff and all this other traveling and AQP. Maybe We're still toying with that. Hang on to your concepts here. Keep on. I'm still looking for CPA, talented aviation pilot people who are CPAs, tax professionals could help steer us. We've now got a very large, strong contingent core group of individuals in the DTSB willing to work on this, and I'm very happy and very thankful for all the volunteers. We're all working for free. Every one of us is all working for free trying to get all this stuff done, and I want to say thank you very much. Tonight's episode is jam-packed. We only had 2 fatals in the last 7 days, which is incredible, and I'll go through those. We had 2 airplanes run out of gas. They're going to be okay, but we had 2 run out of gas. One of them was the King Air 200. I'm going to show you the radar track on that. Fascinating story, but that's the kind of content we got to do. In addition to that, since there's only 2 fatals, I've put a bunch of other fluff in here, some interesting stories in here. I'm going to tell you about Air France Flight 90. Remember this one? This is the one that took off from DCA, hit the bridge, went in the water and all that kind of stuff. So I was in DC. I'm also going to give you a quick tour of a museum stop in DC that's available for free that you don't know about. We'll go up there and take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at the MiG crash. I got a thing in the mail here from a guy named Ron Leggett. Sent me this stuff in the mail. He sent me this disc. I've been in constant communication with Ron. He said it was okay if I use his name, and I want to publicly thank Ron for his work. Went to the site. This is where the MiG crashed. He went to the site numerous times and shot a lot of pictures, took a lot of measurements for me, and gave me a lot of important information. I'm going to show you some of those here when we get to that. Ron Leggett is a police chaplain with the Detroit police officers, and Ron is also going through a rare blood cancer situation. Our thoughts and prayers, best wishes and hopes for Ron as he sorts through that medical situation in his own life right now. But this disc right here is very good. I've got all the stuff off that. Also, we got this right here. I'm not going to tell you what that is right now, but I will in just a second. We got some important scheduling, housekeeping stuff to take care of. First of all, Triple Tree is coming up. 2 weeks from today, we'll be at Triple Tree. That's September 19, 21, 22, 23, something like that. Whatever that weekend is, around the 22nd. We get there Friday morning. I think we're bringing 3 airplanes. The Lockheed Electra, that's the Amelia Earhart airplane that was used, not the one that went in the ocean. This is the one that was used in the movie to make the movie Amelia. Plus the DC-3 should be out there. Keeping my fingers crossed for all things. It's an old airplane. It's a 1938 model DC-3. It might make it. It might not. I'm thinking that it probably will. Plus, Dylan is going to take his Cherokee out there. He's a student pilot. I'm sending a CFI with him to make sure everything's good. It's a short flight. It's about 140 nautical miles from where we are over to Triple Tree. If you have not been to this, Triple Tree is fantastic. It's one of my favorite air shows. It's not really an air show. It's a flying. There's no jets. There's no air show. There's no schedule, and that's what I like the best. It's mostly just us hanging around, visiting, and stuff like that. I'll have several times posted where I will be under a shade tree with a cup of coffee. If you'd like to stop by and visit, that would be totally fine. Each one of us at Triple Tree, we go to Triple Tree for the music, the camaraderie, to hang around and enjoy each other's company. The dinner's up there on the hill Friday night, Saturday night. I encourage you to buy tickets. Here's the website for it, Triple Tree. Get your tickets for Friday night dinner. Friday night and Saturday night, we'll be playing music at our campsite, and I'll show you a graphic of exactly where that is. That's free. Bring your own whatever you want to bring, including your own lawn chair. The Pajama Girl will be there. I'll tell you the Pajama Girl story. You won't want to miss that. I'll tell that story both Friday night and Saturday night, just in case you aren't able to be there. One of those is the Pajama Girl story, and the Pajama Girl herself is going to be there, which will be pretty cool. If you're a vocalist or a musician, it's kind of a free-for-all. It's not really a concert. We're just going to play music. If you play an instrument or sing or can help us and stuff like that, we're not very good, and it's not going to be that formal, but we are going to have a sound system, an acoustic sound system. We will play till about 9 or 9:30, and then we'll have to shut up out there. But this is an ideal location with my friends Grant, Nadia Comodici, and we're going to be at their campsite both nights, Friday night and Saturday night at Triple Tree. I look forward to seeing you. And also, I just got a special notice from somebody else. One of my best friends here up in DC is also going to be at Triple Tree, and she sends her video invitation here.
Hi everybody, I'm up here in Alaska, about to get on this beaver. We're going to do a little bear watching, and apparently we're flying around some volcano. We're going to land, eat some fresh salmon out of the river, and then fly back. And hopefully we won't see any bears up close. That's my goal. And I'll be back home in time to fly down to Triple Tree. Hope to see everybody there. Bye.
So looking forward to seeing you there. Now, let me tell you about these Dylan is his airplane is coming out of annual. Kent and Perez are finishing the annual on that. It's a fantastic airplane. It's a Cherokee 140. He's getting ready this fall. He's going to go part-time and work virtual. He's going out around America in his Cherokee 140 by himself as a student pilot. He gets a compass, a map, a pencil, and a stopwatch. And these VFR sectionals, he's a student pilot. I'm going to endorse him for each leg of his cross-country as he travels around the country. I'd like for you to consider letting him stop in your town. If you got a place where he can throw a sleeping bag or a free bologna sandwich, that would be totally cool. He doesn't need much, but he's going to go out on the road and film. He's got a YouTube channel, Dylan Grider, Project Pilot, something like that. He's going to film as he goes around the country. He's not selling anything. He's not doing anything. He's just wanting to document his student pilot travels as a private pilot. No GPS, no magenta line. We're doing this old school with a whiskey compass. He's got a DG in the airplane, but he's got a whiskey compass and E6B and VFR sectionals. I got enough VFR sectionals to cover all the flatland east of the Mississippi. Should be a big free-for-all. Should be ready to go. So that's coming up. Now, for tonight, let's get into what we actually got to get done here tonight. You know, towards the very end of this, I'm going to talk about both the Texas situation there with that default judgment, that bogus default judgment, and all that stuff. I'll talk about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about AOPA. Your choice, your vote. You get to do what you want to. I'm just going to give you the information, let you make your own decision on what you think about the direction that AOPA has gone in recent years and whether or not that organization continues to function as a useful organization, as a benefit to the cross-section rank and file pilot and aircraft owner across America. You make your own decision. I'm going to show you a little bit of stuff about AOPA. I didn't start this. AOPA has helped me accentuate. AOPA has helped me to highlight exactly what they're doing. And frankly, I don't get it. I just don't get it. But you get to make that call. I'm just going to give you the information, and we'll go on from there. I am going to talk about the Texas thing towards the very end of this. Now, let's get into these two accidents. I'm going to show you these. First of all, out of gas. Two more accidents. This Cessna 172 Hawk XP. Here it is, flying along. This guy ran it out of gas. He's okay. He elected to land on a road instead of the field. Let's listen to this video clip.
We have breaking news from Portage County now, where a small plane was forced to make an emergency landing on a highway in Plover this afternoon because of a mechanical problem. This is video just into the newsroom. State troopers say it happened on County Highway R, south of County HH, behind the Walmart. The fixed-wing single-engine Cessna is registered to Luke Airlines LLC out of Michigan. State troopers tell News Channel 7 the pilot had the choice of landing in a field or on the road and chose the road. Neither the pilot of the plane or the driver of the Jeep, which it clipped as it was coming down, were hurt.
So given the choice, the field or the road, he took the road. He hit the Jeep. He could have landed off field. A little bit of damage to the Jeep, a little bit of damage to the wingtip, but could have been really bad. Could have killed somebody landing that thing. The main thing was he was out of gas. Flying around out of gas. His name is Charles Gilland. From Michigan. I'm not sure where he was going or what he was trying to do. Now, the next one, the King Air 200, I'm going to show you the radar track on this. This is the King Air 200. Took off from Chicago O'Hare, goes west. I'm not sure why he descended down into Iowa and then elected to go around and go back towards Chicago. It's all a mystery. The guy's name was Remington. He ran his King Air 200 out of gas, which is really pretty hard to do. He ran it out of gas, landed off field. He's going to be okay. Destroyed the King Air. Let's take a look at this video footage of the King Air 200 out here in the woods.
Here's how everything played out over air traffic control radio.
We got a big time problem for 0 Kilo Whiskey. We're out of fuel. So I got both engines quit, 0 Kilo Whiskey.
So this video shared with NBC5 shows the twin-engine plane went down in the southeastern section of Bussey Woods near the main dam. This is approximately 3 miles west of O'Hare Airport.
So there you have it. Now I'm going to talk about the summary for August. August ended up with 26 fatals. However, I've discounted 6 out of those because out of the 26, 6 of them were either AG or turbine helicopter or Part 135. So just pure Part 91 GA folks like us, 20 of them, which is really a tad high, but for the month of August, it's about on track here. What I'm trying to get us down to is about 9 or 10 per month at the absolute most would be really, really good. I think for the first time ever since the dawn of time, and I knew Dawn, she was in my high school class since the dawn of time, we are on track, I believe, for the year 2023 to be a record general aviation fatal accident rate low for 2023. I think if we continue our current trend, I think 2023 is going to end up very, very low. I think it's due to social media, Instagram. I'm talking about ASN. What is ASN, Aviation Safety Network? The Facebook page, Aviation This Day in History, all these YouTube channels, all these people that do great jobs on YouTube's doing aviation accident. YouTube is a how-to. It's a prevention thing. People watch YouTube so they can learn from others' mistakes, and I think that's a fantastic thing. Aviation Safety Network is a fantastic organization. I'm not exactly sure how the whole thing works. I've tried to communicate with them a couple times. They're a division of Flight Safety Foundation. That's not flight safety. That's not the same flight safety that we know and love. That's Flight Safety Foundation, and Aviation Safety Network is basically a wiki-based situation where you can provide input, and I've done it. I've added inputs or added accidents to the database myself. They get approved in your data. If they like it, gets approved. Mine has always gotten approved. I want you to try it, Aviation Safety Network, and I want you to support their effort. They have probably the best, fastest, lightning fast aviation database of accidents. It's worldwide. Now, the question was, is there an actual physical address for Aviation Safety Network? So I went to DC and tried to find them. This is my second trip. Check this out. I wasn't convinced that there was even a fourth floor in this building at all. I couldn't figure out if this is all smoke and mirrors or what the deal is. Truth is, Aviation Safety Network is actually run from several people who work remote worldwide, mostly from Amsterdam, but there is a foundation here. So let's check out my visit, my second visit now to Aviation Safety Network. Well, I made it to 1920 Bollinger. It's middle of the week, office is open. Ortho, Virginia is definitely here. So the question is there a fourth floor in this building at all? I think there is, but kind of echoey in here. So all I can do, I've looked around here. All the signs here are for Helicopter Association International, but the million-dollar question is there a fourth floor in this building? And yes, there is. Let's go up there and see who we can find on the fourth floor. I'm looking for Aviation Safety Network. I made it. So there is a fourth floor in this building. The only label I got here is Flight Safety Foundation. There is no Aviation Safety Network here, although I think ASN is like a division of Flight Safety Foundation. But there is definitely a door here. The problem is there's just nobody here today. So there's that, definitely a fourth floor here. Aviation Safety Network, I use them all the time. There's somebody worldwide doing an excellent job updating these database entries far, far, far faster than NTSB is doing. I'll show you the website for this, asn.org, and you yourself can amend these updates, pick on any accident that you want to, click on it, and any user anonymously can make an update to an accident. So you have to take everything that's on an ASN report with kind of a grain of salt. I think most of the time, most of it's pretty good, but it does tend to vary on the fringes sometimes with what's accurate and what is not. Not really certified, verified data. I think a lot of it is good information, but just like YouTube, it's anybody's opinion. What it does do is give you a really fantastic database. I just wish it was a database where we could break it apart by United States or type of aircraft or fatal versus non-fatal and that kind of thing. But anyway, I think they're doing a great job. I think it's a bunch of people worldwide working on this Aviation Safety Network via virtual for the most part. Flight Safety Foundation is definitely in this building, but there's nothing ASN here that I can tell. At least today, there's just nobody here. Now, while I'm in DC, I want to show you this inside of the museum that's inside the airport. Washington National Airport, fascinating. I'm going to show you this. This only takes a minute. I'm going to show you this thing. Here I am outside of Washington National Airport. And here's the original model right here of how Washington National was supposed to be. You know, there's two airports up here, National and Dulles. Everybody goes in and out of Dulles all the time. I try to use National where I can. Maybe you've been out to Gravelly Point out north to watch the arrivals flying the river visual to 19 at National. Always very interesting to see. Professionally flown unstable approaches to 19. Very tricky to get into. I've done it a lot myself. This is National. This is the old terminal building here. How did this building get here, and in what year and why? There's some trivia for you. I know some places in the inner sanctum here. If you've ever been to the area up here in DC and you've visited the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum or Uberhazy, those are all fascinating. This is the true gem right inside here, and it's free. No ticket admission. You can walk right in. It's outside of security. You don't have to do anything. It's inside. And I'm going to go show you what this is. There's actually another airport in DC that you don't know about that used to be here before this one. This one was built under Hoover, the New Deal. This thing actually got started on construction about 1935 or 36. We'll go inside and find out the exact year. This thing is the second airport at National. They actually took the Potomac River, dumped in gravel, and built up the land to make Washington National. It's here today because it had to erase the former airport that used to sit where the Pentagon is sitting today. That's right. The original National Airport used to be a single sod runway sitting exactly where the Pentagon is. Let's go inside. I'm going to show you a real aviation gem inside this building here. If you're ever up here in the DC area, you can park across the street, go in here for free. This is a fascinating tour. I got a couple things inside I want to show you, specifically related to early vintage aviation and specifically the DC-3. Inside the hallway that houses a significant chunk of museum artifact concerning Washington National. All these things are on the wall here. They show you the original plan of where this airport used to be. All these things on the wall, all down through here. It's got artifacts, it's got display stuff. This is early vintage aviation. And here's the original model right here of how Washington National was supposed to be when they designed this thing. So this is a fascinating tour. Lots of stuff on the wall here showing you how this thing happened, how it came to be. It would take you hours to go through here and look at this. This particular DC-3 is a United mainliner. I recognize the N number on this thing. This thing flew for United, eventually got transferred to be 515 Alpha Charlie later on before it was decommissioned. All these displays in here, there's a timeline. There's a video story showing you how this airport used to be, how it came to be. It'd take you an hour to pick through here and look at everything that they've got, but they've really done a nice job on the history of the land around here. Ronald Reagan, Washington National Airport, where the nation took flight. This is all the stuff that they've got showing you the exact timeline on how everything was built. They've even got this interactive display here, which will show you the whole time sequence of what happened. And check this out. Here's an original sign. I think this is probably from maybe late 60s, early 70s or something like that. This is original with his dings and dents. This thing they pulled in from outside back when they had airline ticket offices right here. Here's a really great display of models, pictures, everything. This is the original emblem right here that symbolizes this same emblem is still on the outside of the building today. Fascinating history contained in these walls of this particular museum here, and it's free. I encourage you. I'm going to show you one more thing that is pretty obscure, hard to find. If you could get here, if you can find it, you let me know. But I'm going to go there next. I'm going to find it. I'm going to take one more video of the actual plaque commemorating the creation of National, and it'll show what year that this thing was actually started. This plaque here is a recreation, but it still commemorates that this building here at National was the first terminal to be constructed under the civil Aviation Authority, Civil Aeronautics Authority. Those were the people involved in it. Franklin D. Roosevelt, President of the United States, and John McShane was the builder in 1940. It was actually started well before 1940. They started moving dirt in about 1936, but lots of pictures out here of DC-3s on the ramp. This was a DC-3 airport when it opened. This was commercial air travel linking the nation's capital with every other parts of the world. That was before Dulles was built. This was the capital airport for Washington, D.C., and all the business and government people that had to travel in out here. Now, the interesting thing here, while we're here, is I'm going to show you this particular corner has been dedicated to Air Florida Flight 90. If you remember that one, you tell me what happened on Air Florida Flight 90. Here's the commemorative plaque. This is all that's left from Air Florida Flight 90, showing the memorial here for Air Florida Flight 90.
In her early 20s, Kelly Duncan Moore was a flight attendant with Air Florida. She loved the sense of freedom and control she had in her life at the time.
I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. I really wanted to be the one to make my own decisions. I felt like I was in control, that I was able to do the things that I wanted to do.
But that false sense of control came to an abrupt end on a freezing day in January 1982. After a long delay, Flight 90 took off from Washington National Airport with Kelly and 78 others on board.
I took my seat in the back jump seat, strapped myself in, and we started down the runway. Immediately after leaving the ground, the aircraft started to shake really bad, and the last thing I saw was a passenger in the very last seat. He turned around to me and looked very worried, and I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. And then the next minute, I was in a different, I didn't know what had happened.
The jet failed to climb upon takeoff and crashed into the 14th Street Bridge crossing the Potomac River, then plunged into the icy waters below. Moments later, Kelly emerged from the sunken wreckage. She held fast to the tail of the plane, fighting hypothermia and waiting for rescue.
I felt like I was just so confused, like what in the world just happened? And as the time went on, I started to think, I'm gonna die. That's when I started to go, I think this is the day I'm gonna die.
And then they've also left you a couple of flowers and a guest book. The guest book lists the names of the people that got killed on Air Florida Flight 90, and it's got a place to sign it. I'm gonna go ahead and sign my name here. It's just a guest book. Anybody can sign it. So if you're here, leave your thoughts, prayers, notes, and sign your name if you would like to. What happened on Air Florida Flight 90? This is the one where they took off with contaminated wing, contaminated engine inlets. Their EPR, P1, P2, T2 probes were iced over, giving them false indications in the cockpit of EPR. EPR is engine pressure ratio. It tells them how to set the power. So on takeoff, they thought that they were at max EPR because of the ice accumulated on the probes, giving them a false indication. Their throttles truly were about the halfway position, and they should have pushed those throttles to the firewall. The captain's name was Larry, the guy on the right seat. One of his last words was, "We're going in, Larry." And Larry says, "I know it." This is from memory. I haven't looked at this accident in a long time, but I'll never forget reading that. Larry simply says, "I know it." His throttles are a full 4 inches aft of the firewall full power stop. They hit the bridge at about half power. The airplane could not fly because they thought that they were at max power. They didn't want to hurt their engines. They were not at full power. That's what happened on Air Florida Flight 90. Some good lessons to learn for all you people out there. Make sure you apply common sense before you go in. Do everything that you can, including firewall, power, or whatever you need to do. Don't worry about your engine. Don't worry about your airframe. Firewall that thing through the firewall if you need to, but give it all it's got to try to make that thing fly. If you got to crash as slow as you possibly can. Crash it as far into the crash. Hit the slowest, cheapest, easiest, least expensive piece of real estate that you can at the slowest possible speed. Have your door undone and be able to step out. Some fascinating things at Washington National Airport up here. I've known about this up here for a long time. I thought it'd be important to show you my travels. I'm out here on the road doing some other airplane accident investigation, historical stuff here for a few days here, and I'm going to get this video included on tonight's Sunday night video just so you can see. If you're up here, I'd like for you to stop by, check this out. It's inside this terminal, it's free, and come and sign your name in this book. Let's get back to our accident reporting. Okay, so one of the only things left on the table here is the MiG crash. This MiG up in Michigan that crashed, basically the backseater, the NTSB said he was a backseater. He was a pilot qualified observer. Well, the MiG is a single seat. It has two seats, but it's flown by a PIC who doesn't need anybody in the back seat. Problem is, each seat had an ejection handle. When you pull either handle from either seat, both guys get ejected. My problem here is a philosophical one. I saw the Scott Purdue interview. Scott Purdue interviewed the guy. His name is Mark Ruff. Mark is the non-qualified observer in the back seat of this thing that actually pulled the handle. The captain and the owner of the airplane was Dan Filer, had no idea that this was about to be done. They did have an engine abnormal. They were losing airspeed and all that kind of stuff. Scott Purdue's emphasis is on the envelope. The very, very bottom of the envelope. If you're going to punch out, you're at the bottom of the envelope on capable. Was the PIC preoccupied? Yes, I'm sure he was, but maybe the PIC was more interested in steering that jet. This is an experimental Russian aircraft over America's homeland. It's an actual flying bomb. I think Dan probably had good intention of staying with the aircraft, even up to and including sacrificing his own life to guarantee that nobody on the ground got hurt. The backseater saw that they were at the bottom of the envelope and had no care whatsoever about anybody on the ground. He only wanted to sacrifice himself. I get that from his video. Let's listen to this video where he's only talking about when he found out and how much emphasis he placed on trying to find out if anybody on the ground got hurt.
Hey, I've got a hell of a story for you today. I have Mark Ruff here. He's the guy. My phone starts ringing from some of my friends, and friends from work in particular. And I answer, and they say, oh, thank God it wasn't you. And I said, no, it was me. I'm okay. I think my back's broken, but we're headed to the hospital. I'll call you later. And I asked that friend, let me know if you hear anything, if there's anything on the media about injuries or whatever, because, you know, it's a heavy thing. So I'm explaining to them our injuries. I'm like saying, please, we need x-rays, CT scans. We're messed up. And okay, sure, you take it down, because we didn't look, I mean, other than blood down the face and those kinds of things, I don't think we looked that bad. And I said, what do you know about the scene? What do you know about? He said, I was dispatched right here, so I don't have any information, but let me make some calls. So he steps into the hallway, and then about 30 minutes later, I'm dealing with other folks. They've got an IV going and all those things. 30 minutes later or so, two law enforcement folks come in, and they interrupt the tech, and they said, just want to let you know, just got off the phone. No fatalities, no injuries, no damage to any structures. And that was the first time I got emotional.
So basically, he pulls his handle, he goes to the hospital, he has no idea if anybody on the ground got hurt or not. This engine, now before you leave the airplane, both guys left the jet with an engine running. Nobody shut off the fuel because they just pulled the handle and they're both outside the airplane. This is a jet full of jet fuel with an engine running. Now it's aimed someplace. Philosophically, I can tell you I'm not that selfish. First of all, I would not have ever been in the airplane. But second, if I had, I would have given my life, I guarantee it, to guarantee that that airplane did not go. Here's some pictures of the debris field and where this thing went. Look at the tree. I want to show you this thing, the pictures that Ron sent me here. And then here's the path of this thing. See this red arrow right here? This is where it went. Now I've taken the exact same Google Earth thing and just moved it over 100 feet. If this jet had gone 100 feet to the right, it would have gone directly into these apartment buildings. Probably between 50 and 100 innocent civilians would have been killed instantly in a huge fireball. I'm I just don't see. Maybe you can tell me where I'm wrong on this thing. Yes, if it was a military airplane, and Scott's background is in fighter jets and being able to punch out over enemy territory and when you can punch out and all that kind of stuff, guess what? We're not in the military anymore. There's no war going on. There's nobody shooting at you. You're up there on a volunteer basis. You don't have to be. And those people in those apartments, they didn't even buy a ticket. They didn't even know there was an air show going on. Their lives do not deserve to be interrupted by a wayward Russian aircraft. I'm not even sure why we're celebrating a Russian aircraft in America. The whole thing makes no sense, but I can tell you, I'm not very happy with somebody pulling an ejection handle to save his own life and not having any idea where that bomb is now going. I think the whole air show thing, from the time that the emergency was declared until there was 2 shoots, was just a fraction of a second. And also, the air boss did not approve the observer to be in the back seat. The actual FAA approved this back seater. The feds approved the back seater. Was there a briefing conducted by the feds since they gave the authority? Did the feds talk to them about who has the handles, who's going to pull on what authority are you going to pull, when are you going to pull it on what basis, and what are you going to do with it? Having an ejection seat jet, experimental Russian jet over our homeland just does not seem like a great idea to me. If you're going to do that, I think both guys ought to be totally committed to giving their own lives to guarantee that that jet goes to the least possible damage area, the least possible loss of life. Whoever's in there needs to ride it all the way in. You're in there on a volunteer basis in the first place. I don't think you ought to be pulling that handle and letting that bomb go towards the civilian masses wherever it goes. I just don't like the idea, and you can tell me where I'm wrong on that. If it's military and you're over enemy territory, absolutely punch, save your own life, and there's another pilot saved. That's what that thing is for. But that's a different day, different deal, different scenario. That's not what we have here, and I totally disagree with pulling that handle. Mark Ruff pulling that handle, in my opinion, was a cowardly act to save his own life. So let's talk about the August sheet here real quick. This is it up on the screen. I'm going to zoom through these here, 26 total here, and I'm going to start down through here. The impossible turn, look at these 2 impossible turns in a row. Loss of thrust on takeoff, 1 lockup, a medical, maybe, we don't know on that. Night spatial descent orientation, the 172 is probably best guess here. Look at the number of impromptu aerobatics here. The next one, impromptu acro. And then in California, the AG airplane, November 5450. No idea really what happened to that. We've already talked about the Bell 407, the midair, Tony Sousa, age 55. The Cessna 150 in Texas, either loss of thrust on takeoff or something happened, but he totally lost control of that airplane and ended up off the left side, taking off south. Once again, an AT-802 in Missouri. This guy, Austin Scroggin, age 26, was doing acro, having fun with his airplane. His wreckage did not even end up in the field that he was supposed to be spraying. The PA-18150 in Alaska, I know very little about this, who it was or what the deal was. They tell me it's a box canyon, flew up, weather going down, and flew up into a box canyon and could not get turned around. The P-210 in Georgia, we went there. That's the storm cell penetration. Todd Bruno, he was a dentist, age 66, took the wings off of that 210 in flight. The RV-14, that's aerobatics. That's Greg Bierman, age 62, up in Illinois. RV-14 did a low-level pass over his hometown and rolled it inverted and did not come out of it. The Bell 47G, that's another ag plane up in Pennsylvania. The guy was not screwing around. He just inadvertently hit the power lines. That's Theodore Farnwell, age 39. Another power line one, the Petrel in North Carolina. That happened about maybe 3 weeks ago right now. Hit the power lines. Jeff Cooley, age 63. He's dead. The PA-161, that's the Florida airplane. That's the Warrior down in Florida. That's Fernando. The wing failed. Actually, one guy lived off this. The other guy did die. That's a wing that fell off a Piper Warrior in flight. 13,200 hours on this airframe. The 6-shooter up in Minnesota, that's the grandfather Denny Pekacek, age 73. Still no idea what happened on that one. The one in Wisconsin, 35417, that's the Piper J5A in Wisconsin. I hope you're following along here. That's the shoulder harness one. Bruce Flannery, age 78, died. He did not have any other bodily injury. They're telling me that he hit his head, and there's almost no damage to the airplane or his body, just hit his head. The C-23 in South Carolina, loss of thrust on takeoff. We showed you a video of that last week. This guy held the stick all the way back, all the way in. It did not spin. It just hit hard. That's Dan Witt, age 62, died on board that airplane. The C-99 up in Maine, that's a training flight. Jim Kegel, age 69, was training a young guy. I have no idea what happened on this one either, but the weather was good and the airplane appeared to have been running fine. The Impossible Turn, that's Creighton King, age 50. That's the in my opinion, very much overloaded, hot, high density altitude, overloaded, and turned right onto the crosswind and had some kind of a thrust problem and tried to come back and stalled and ended up on a north heading facing the airport again. The Beech 36TC, I showed you the track for this last week. That's IMC into the train. That's 6709 Quebec. That's up in Alaska. Alaska is a tough environment. The EC-135, we talked about this a lot. This is the engine fire. I'm not sure the names of the engines, number 1 versus number 2, but it's a twin-engine turbine airplane. The rear engine, the one back there near the tail, is the one that failed and was on fire. He had an engine failure, likely an engine fire light immediately, but flew for a long time looking at that fire light, trying to get back to runway 6 down at Pompano. The R-22 in New Jersey, that's a training airplane, November 235, Mike, an R-22. One guy died. I can't tell if there was another guy on there or not. I don't know. November 50FU, that's a motor glider out in Colorado, and that concludes our August 2023. Basically 20 of them. But if you could wipe out flying into power lines, impromptu acro, you could take out really a bunch of these things. It's crazy. Don't attempt low-level acro at 500 feet over your hometown, especially if you don't know how to do acrobatics. I don't know how to do acrobatics, and I'm certainly not doing it over my hometown in a little airplane at 200 feet. Like, why? What? It's probably not going to work, and you're going to end up on this page here. Don't do that. So there's your conclusion off of 20. I hope this helps you. And this material is designed to be educational, to help you understand the guys before you, the pilots, our friends, our brothers, our sisters, our fellow brethren pilots, what they did wrong and how they died. I'm going to take a look real quick here at AOPA. Here's AOPA's safety video this week and what they did for our safety culture. Here's AOPA's most recent safety video. I'll show it to you right now.
It's a long haul from Florida to Puerto Rico, but it's a beautiful destination. We stopped in San Juan on our trip gathering content for AOPA's Island Guides. AOPA Editor-at-Large Dave Hirschman flew a Beech Baron all the way from Florida to San Juan. There's no shortage of colorful architecture and good food. One of San Juan's claims to fame is to say the pina colada was invented here. Barachina restaurant claims to be the first, and it's worth a stop in for a cool, refreshing drink. Welcome to Old San Juan. It's just a few minutes from the airport, and you can take a day walking around this part of the city and really get a good glimpse of Puerto Rican history and culture. Toward the end of the day, I meet up with AOPA Director of Photography Chris Rose, and we talk about our experience in Old San Juan. Okay, Chris, so we're overlooking Old San Juan. We've seen a lot of cool things today. What's been your favorite things we've seen?
Well, you know, this morning I got up and we went out here, and there was this great thunderstorm that kind of passed through, and the sky was just amazing. The ocean was sort of raging this morning, and it just made for some really interesting pictures. But
we're the same AOPA that you've come to love and trust over all these years.
Just spend half a day or so walking around the old San Juan. It's a really cool place.
Yeah, so. great food. Great food.
So we're down to the last two in September. I'm going to go with this. I'll put the sheet up on the board here right now. This is it for September 2023, November 420 Papa Bravo. This is the SR-20. I'll show you the radar track. Oscar Molina, age 61. He's out there flying at night. It's 10:17 p.m. at night. He's flying around. Here's the radar track. I'm not sure what he did. I wrote this down as AQP number 2. I think he got distracted and simply drove it into the woods. The next one, November 6059 Golf, 11:50 a.m. This is a Cessna 150 in Texas. This is definitely lost of thrust on takeoff. The guy's name was Elijah Bishop, age 43. Elijah was a first officer for an airline. He had a son with him, age 20. Lost of thrust on takeoff. Take a look at where they ended up here. When you lose an engine and you pull back and do not let that wing fly, you're going to stall, you're going to spin, you're going to hit vertical, and it's over right here. Loss of thrust on takeoff. You've got to push, lower the nose, and fly straight ahead. It's Texas. It's pretty flat out there. You could have got away with just about anything. Once that wing stalls this low to the ground, it's over. You're definitely going to be dead on this, and another loss of thrust on takeoff in Texas. That's how come this AQP material is so important. That's how come these videos are so important. That's how come I'm going to keep on beating this bandwagon. If you'd like to help me and support me, your $1 and $2 donations, I'm still doing that towards this effort for my travel and all that kind of stuff. Here they are. Here's your methods of supporting me: Zelle, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. Doesn't take much. $1 or $2 would be very, very helpful. Got to get this video up and on the air. I'm just going to tell you, for Texas, remember, Unconventional, I did not get a trial. I got a default judgment, and that's because we used unconventional strategy out here. There's no way to win against a crooked judge and a crooked attorney in a crooked system. Going to the appellate courts, every state has the appeal process. Now it gets pulled up out here. We never wanted the appeals process to decide the case yes or no. We wanted the opportunity for a fair trial. We wanted to be able to go to trial, and that's what Charles Cook never wanted us to have. They designed this thing to send a process server to my hangar where they knew I wasn't going to be. That's dirty pool. That's crooked. The whole thing is crooked. Once we found out that there was no way to get a trial in Texas, it's obvious. No need to spend any more money on this. We're simply going to take this to the appellate level, and that's what we've done at this time. Now the appellate court is going to decide whether or not Dan deserves a fair trial. I think I deserve a fair trial to hear the case on this thing. That's what Charles does not want, and that is unconventional strategy, but it's the way that it had to be done because of the circumstances that we're in. When you're facing a crooked Texas, a crooked judge, a crooked attorney, and a crooked everything, that's all you've got left. And the appellate system is much, much better on the integrity basis. There's a whole bunch of these appellate judges. They do not want their name associated with not granting a trial. That's all the man asked for, was a fair trial. He's out of state. He deserves to have a fair trial, and that's all that we're going for here on this. The trial will come much, much, much later on. It's unconventional strategy, but that's what we did, and now we've got it up into the appellate system. The appellate is going to decide whether or not Dan deserves a fair trial. I think that I do. I would like to have the opportunity to have my side of this case heard, and that's what Charles Cook never, ever wanted. So that's it for tonight. I appreciate you guys hanging in here with me to the very bitter end. Sorry this thing had to drag on. We just don't have that many fatals for tonight, which is a very, very good thing. Hope this trip down memory lane and some of these other information things that we talked about here, with especially with Air Florida and things like that, were very useful to you and interesting to you. We'll see you next Sunday night from my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel. Dan Grider, Probable Cause.